You move through life and you have all these ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs, and it feels like you can't catch a break. I just finished reading this book called Zen and the Art of Archery by Eugen Herrigel. I think it was written before the 50s. It's a classic at this point. But it's about Zen. And one of the most important things that it reveals in the book is the importance of the breath and tying everything you do to the breath, right? Breathing, literal breathing. That is the foundation of Zen and the foundation of everything you do. So how does the breath look? How does a proper form look for the breath? The breath looks like this. You start from here and you breathe in. That's the breath in. You pause. And then you breathe out. And from there, you immediately breathe back in. Okay? So that is one cycle of breath. Now you can repeat this pattern, and again another pause would come and another breathing out right there. But that is the proper form or technique of breathing. You breathe in, you pause, and you breathe out. And only once the breath is completely out do you breathe in again. So that is a healthy breath. And I'm going to draw it up again right here, just a little smaller. I'm going to show you how it repeats. Right, looks like that. Hopefully you can see that. This is a regulated, let's call it a regulated breath. Regulated. It's regulated, okay? What does a dysregulated breath look like? It looks like this. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. In, out, in, out. Dysregulated. Now, why is it called dysregulated? Well, if you think about it, what does this mean if you're breathing like this? If you're going in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Try it. You're hyperventilating. What happens when you hyperventilate? You send your body into a fight or flight response. Your stress hormones increase, your epinephrine, that's your adrenaline, your norepinephrine, and your cortisol levels. They all increase. And what happens if you live a life where you're constantly stressed or in that survival mode? You begin to get sick. It manifests into physical ailments, into mental ailments, into spiritual ailments when you live in this dysregulated state. So what are the main two differences here that you notice, right? Well, first of all, it's the frequency of breaths. Right here in this cycle, you see that's 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycle, 1, 2, 3, that's a 2, right? 1, 2, 3. How many are in this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see that? Not only are there more cycles of breath, the dysregulated is missing this most important part of the cycle. Well, they're all equally important, but dysregulated does not have this part of the cycle, which is this pause right here. This is a pause. Maybe I should have done that in a different color, but this is a pause. This is breathing in, let's see. In. This is out. Okay. Why is this pause important? Before we get there, let's see how we get to that pause, right? The breath in start with the breath in right here. I'm going to use relationships as an example just because I feel like a lot of people my age can relate to it, and it's an easier way to think and apply this. With relationships, there is this pattern. This is what a healthy relationship would look like. One filled with growth, one filled with learning, one with good communication and accountability. This is what a good relationship would look like. Okay? So this is the breath in, right? This is the start of the relationship. You're breathing in. You are learning new things about yourself and the other person. New experiences. I'm just going to put new, right? There's a lot of new here. It's very expansive, the breath in. It's a literal expansion. You do this for quite some time until you reach this point right here. This is a transition point. Now this can go two ways. From here on, from this node right here, it can go two ways. It can go here on the pause. And in this case, the pause is just like a steady pace in the relationship where, you know, things aren't like super exciting, but things aren't like bad on any terms. It's just y'all are steady. Y'all are, I think steady is the best word to use here. Or it can go down this way. It can immediately just, a problem can occur and you start going down, right? And we'll get there once we got the breathing out. But I want to focus here, the pause, right? Like I said, the pause would be steady. This is, things are stable, like nothing super exciting, but nothing super drastic affecting. Y'all are just stable, right? It'll go here. It might even feel like if you're used to this dysregulated, like toxic pattern, this might even feel boring. You might even feel like something's wrong here, but it's not. It's actually very important for healthy relationships to have these periods of just calm, right? Like it's not very healthy to always just be happy. You got to work on stuff, but you also need this calm in the middle, because that does lead to the next transition point here, right? And it's inevitable. You do have to breathe out once you breathe in. What comes up does have to go down. So at this point is when one or both of you identify something within yourselves or the relationship that you'd like to change or work on or improve on, grow in. And so once that happens, you start this breathing out process. When you start letting go of the old version of you, the old habits, the old ways of relating to your partner, the old ways of showing up. And that can feel like the end of the world. It feels like, it can feel scary. It can feel, things are falling apart, right? And in some ways it is. This is where you start breaking things down so you can build them back up again. So I'm just writing letting go right here. It's a literal release. That leads to this here. This can go two ways, really. This happens once you're willing to now become that new person, to take on the new habits, and to build that vision, that new vision that you identified needed to happen here. Right? Or it can go this way. If you don't make it through this, none of you are willing to work it out and make it through, the relationship just ends. Right? And if we're using this like life, you just die. You off yourself or something, which sucks. Don't do that. I'm not saying you can't leave relationships that suck. You can do that, but please don't kill yourself. Like, there's so much here for you left to do. I need you to understand that. So, but then after that, there's going to be a rise again. So there are these three transition points. In a toxic relationship, which would look like this, there's only two transition points in the cycle. It's the one where things immediately you identify something needs to change and it goes down right here. You guys either stay together, try to work it out, or the relationship ends. Hope this is making sense. Why is this so important? Why do you want this over this? Because this pause, again, we're going to emphasize the pause. I'm going to go back to the pause and emphasize how important it is. This is the area where you get to reflect, where you can just be at peace, where you can just be regulated in your body. You're not in fight or flight. You're not feeling like you're in survival mode. You can just be here. Whereas when you're on these ups and downs, there's really no time for you to really reflect and course correct and really make the best decisions. So you can apply this pattern to your life to get a sense of where you are, have some awareness of your current situations, whether you're growing or you're in a toxic cycle. Let me show you what this looks like when you zoom out on a macro scale. Let's draw another graph here. This is going to be your regulated graph. The y-axis is going to be for growth. Hopefully this is big enough for y'all to see. And this is time, growth over time, right? We're going to measure it. So a regulated life would look like this, or relationship. It'll look like this. Start off like this, and then it'll compound over time. The benefits will just get greater and greater. What does a dysregulated? So this is regulated, so I'm going to put reg up here. Let's draw another one right here. This is dis. Again, this is growth over time. This is what a dysregulated life or relationship looks like. Might seem like you're doing alright, but then if it goes on for long enough, it's going to curve down this way until you die, really. It'll cause a death, either in your mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical, literal death right here. You might be driven to the point where you don't want to live anymore. Death is inevitable, but this dysregulated will get you there quicker. It literally will get you there quicker, living a dysregulated life again. Because what does that do? It weakens your physiology. You get sick, and then you die. You get mentally sick. What do you do when you're super mentally sick? You die. So you really do not want this. You want to work on never being here, dysregulated. That doesn't mean you can't have ups and downs in your life. Again, what comes up must come down. But you need this pause here. You need to find ways to have this pause in between the ups and the downs. Or else you won't have the time, again, you won't have the space to really reflect and understand what needs to truly change and to incorporate those changes in your life so that you can grow exponentially and you're not just staying in the same place or regressing. So how would you actually switch? First, you gotta take account for every area of your life or wherever your goals may be. If it's in relationships, just ask yourself, like, do I have these pauses? Does it feel like I'm constantly in this up and down, up and down? Or are there times where I might feel like, you know, things are a little boring, or things are maybe just, I'm at peace, you're at peace. Gotta look for the pause. If you don't have it, then there's a good sign that you are dysregulated in that part of your life. So, another example, let's use finances. Do you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck? Are you going up and down, up and down, up and down? You have money and then all of a sudden you don't have money. You have money again and then you don't have money. Or do you have these pauses where you gain money and you save some and then you spend some? And then you gain some, you save some, and then you spend some. Right? Are you growing that way? So the first step to being regulated is to have awareness of if you aren't regulated. Then next is to just identify what needs to change so that you can have these pauses. If it does mean you need to switch your job, or switch what you're doing, or get out of the toxic relationship so that you can have those moments of peace in your life, that's what needs to happen. Because again, if you live the rest of your life like this, you're not going to have a lot of life to live. Even if you do make it to old age where you're really living. The juiciest and the most important parts of our lives happen in the in-betweens, in these parts right here where you can just reflect and have peace, and you can be grateful for both of these experiences. You need this time right here. So that's just it for today. A little bit different from what I normally do. I busted out the whiteboard here. I thought it was really fun. I really felt like a teacher. I hope things here made sense, and just let me know what you think in the comments. This was just something I thought of while I was reading, something that came to mind. It's definitely going to be a tool I use to look at my own life and areas of my own life to see whether I'm growing or if things need to change as well. Subscribe to the channel if you like things like manifestation, mindset, self-development, and just self-expression in general. This is Activator Angel. Thank you for watching.